I am Professor Kanu, Ikechukwu Anthony.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah, can you hear me?
And yeah, you are audible, sir. And
Okay.
your screen is also coming. You are sharing the screen. Yes.
Okay. So I am Professor Kanu Ikechukwu Anthony from Tansian University here in Nigeria, and currently the rector of Villanova Polytechnic. I always like to begin by expressing my sentiments of gratitude to Exodia for giving this opportunity to speak to you on this platform and in this capacity. I always like to also begin by expressing solidarity for those who are suffering in one way or the other as regards the coronavirus pandemic. Those who have died, we keep praying that they rest in peace. And for those who have lost someone, that they will have the fortitude to bear the loss. And for those who are sick, that they may find healing. And for those who are on lockdown, who are feeling very uncomfortable, that we may go through it together in solidarity. Well, I have two presentations, and these two presentations will be made during this time. And the first is on plagiarism, and the second will be on research grant writing. And I will do it within the confines of the time that has already been allotted to me. Then I'll begin. I hope my PPT is available, and I'm dealing first with plagiarism. And we have a presentation outline. The presentation outline begins with an introduction. Then we go to plagiarism, its types and causes. Then we talk about plagiarism in relation to law. Then we talk about how to avoid plagiarism. And then we come to a conclusion and then begin the next topic. So when we talk about plagiarism, it is not as old as humanity in the sense of the law. Because when you go through human history, especially the ancient period, you discover that plagiarism was not as important as we take it in our own time. When you read the works of Aristotle in the ancient era, and then come to the medieval world and begin to read the work of St. Thomas Aquinas, you will discover that a huge part of the work of St. Thomas Aquinas was taken from the work of Aristotle. In fact, some will tell you that the difference between Aquinas and Aristotle is that where Aquinas uses, or where Aristotle uses unmoved mover, unchanged changer, you see Aquinas will use God instead. And the same thing you find in the ancient era in relation to Plotinus, and then Augustine of Hippo in the medieval period. Augustine depended so much on the Enneads, the work of Plotinus, for the development of his thoughts, his philosophy and theology. And it was such that every student wanted to become like his master. And becoming like your master was almost like taking what your master had said and then trying to see how you transmit it to the next generation. And so Plato was the student of Socrates, and you expect that Plato takes quite a lot from Socrates. In fact, some philosophers will argue that a huge part of the work of Plato was taken from Socrates, who did not put anything down in writing. Aristotle was a student of Plato, and he obviously took quite a lot from Plato. And if he did not take much from Plato, a lot of his works were a reaction to Plato. Even the holy books that we have, you find a reflection of this, on this, of this, on this, and these were done without citing. Just to say that during the ancient era, the medieval period, the question of plagiarism.
Kanu, sir, sorry for interrupting you. Actually, your PPT is loading, but it is not running directly. So can you reshare it? Then all the people will get the PPT. Actually, it is not appearing on the screen. It is showing that loading.
Okay, it's not clear?
It is actually loading, sir. Maybe some slow internet or may issue. So it is showing that loading. It is not directly coming on the screen.
Okay, let me see what I can do.
Yeah. Kindly reshare it. You can close the screen. I will stop the sharing screen, and then yeah, you can again reshare it, sir.
Okay. Is it okay now?
It was coming and again going. You can reshare, sir. Please do it again. Go for the share button. Yes. Yes, sir. It is now coming.
It's okay now?
Yes. Okay, sir. You can go for full screen mode. Here in the bottom, you can go for full screen. In the bottom of your slide, you can go for full screen. There will be a symbol like this that for screen show. So you can go for full screen presentation. Yes, in the bottom right hand side, it is appearing. That is showing your that one on the right hand side of your PC. That is where the battery percentage is showing, and nearby you can see right hand side, the bottom part. In the bottom of your PC,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
It is like screen, like one symbol is there, it's like screen. You can just click it for the full screen view of the PPT.
Okay. You have the PPT, right?
Yes, or otherwise, sir, you can continue in this way also. It will be not an issue. It is coming on the screen.
Is it on the screen now?
Yeah, it is on the screen. You can try F5 also if it is coming on the Zoom, because in general F5 is working, and you can put the F5, but this shortcut is not always applicable.
So are you saying it's okay?
Yeah, we are getting the slide. If you can click the slide show, then it will be on full screen. Otherwise, also it is coming.
Okay. I
And
can't.
participants are requested not to draw any lines on the screen. Yes, sir, it is coming now. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
You can
You're
continue.
welcome. Okay. So what I try to say is that in the ancient world, the issue of plagiarism was not a thing of concern. And the reason why it was not a thing of concern was, first, the issue of globalization was not very strong. The world was not globalized as it is now. And there were not records. You can imagine like somebody like Socrates lived all his life and he did not put anything into writing. And because he did not put anything into writing, it was possible for another person to pick his work and then begin to write about without anybody tracing anything to Socrates. But in our own time, there is record. When you write, you record your writing. And once your writing is recorded, nobody can easily pick your work and do with it as he wants. The world was not as globalized as it is now. In fact, before you could move from Europe and then go to America, or from America down to Africa, it was difficult to move. And so I can carry your work in Europe, come back here to Africa and plagiarize it without anybody knowing, even for 100 years, that I have done that. But the world has changed in our own time. And then the economic interpretation of reality, basically capitalism in our own time, when everybody wants to get value for what he has done. Everybody wants to get monetary value for the work he has done. So these are the basis for the emphasis on plagiarism, especially in our own time. Now, what is plagiarism? Plagiarism is an attempt to steal somebody's work and then call it your own. The work could be published or unpublished. But once you take somebody's work, either in part or in full, and then you make it your own, or you publish it in your name, you have plagiarized. And so what we're talking about here is when you take somebody's work without making reference to the person, in academics, it is stealing. And the things that could be plagiarized include ideas, for instance, If a person writes a project and then you take his project in a university in India, and then you come here in Nigeria, and then you publish it in your name, you have stolen the person's idea. It is plagiarism. Or if you come to my office to ask for or to make a proposal, and I tell you that the company will consider the proposal, and then you walk away, and then I turn the proposal to be my own proposal. At that point, I have plagiarized. I have taken somebody's idea and have made it my own. It also can be applied to pictures. We easily take pictures from the internet, and then you put them on a banner or on a poster, and then you have it printed and sent out. When you do that without referencing the person who is the original author of that picture, then you have plagiarized the picture of the person. Then you can also do that in songs. If, for instance, you are doing a movie, and then you take somebody's song, and then you bring it into the movie without taking permission from the person or referencing the person who is the original singer of the music or the song, then you have plagiarized. Or in the case of a drama, you can go to Greece, and then you take a Greek drama, and then you come back here to Africa or to Nigeria or to India, and then you change all the names from Greek name to Nigerian name or to Indian name, or this is also plagiarism. The issue of design is also connected to the issue of pictures. When you take somebody's design without a reference to the person or a person's video, this calls for very serious concern, and it is considered as plagiarism. What are the causes of plagiarism? One of the causes of plagiarism is lack of integrity. A man who has no integrity will always plagiarize. Because a man who has integrity will always ensure that the works of others are attributed or referenced to them. Actually, plagiarizing is an expression of lack of integrity. Because if you have integrity, you will respect other persons. And plagiarism does not respect the other person who owns the work. What it does is that you take something from the value and the dignity of the other person when you plagiarize, and you try to appropriate it to yourself when you know that you do not deserve it. Then the next is lack of creativity. When a person is very creative, it is very difficult to fall into the hole of plagiarism. Because it is very easy to take up a concept somewhere and see how you develop it and make it your own, rather than just going and taking what somebody has done and then taking it as it is, putting it as part of your work without even referencing the person. But the person who is creative can always find a way of going around other people's ideas and trying to make something new out of it. Now the next is laziness. When a person is lazy, the person is not ready to do anything, then it is very easy to plagiarize. Because plagiarism, part of it, or part of its reasons for doing it is laziness. That the person is not interested in doing something, but he is interested in something. You are not interested in doing something, but you are interested in something. Until you are able to do something, you move out of that seat of laziness, then creativity begins. And it is because of that laziness that you find people doing last minute rush. He tells you, I will, but he never does. And then when the last minute comes, instead of facing reality, the easiest thing to do is to plagiarize. Then lack of problem in research. When I talk about lack of problem in research, we had discussed the other time about research problem. When you have a research problem, your research problem structures what you are doing, structures what you are looking for, structures your research. But when you have no research problem, it is very easy to go and steal somebody's research problem. And when you steal somebody's research problem, it then means that you are most probably going to steal the work of the person. But if you have your own research problem, which is an update on what the person has done in the past or another person has done in the past, then you are able to create something new. Wherever there is plagiarism, there isn't creativity. The lack of awareness of ethics. There are so many people who are not even aware of the implications of plagiarism. If you're not aware of the implications, then it is very difficult to hold yourself back. So there is need for an awareness of ethics, knowing fully well that this is wrong. What ethics is about is right and wrong. Knowing that it is wrong helps you to keep away from it, but not knowing that it is wrong keeps you there in the process or always taking from people's work. Then there are types of plagiarism. The first type of plagiarism is copying. And when we talk about copying, we're talking about taking somebody's work exactly as it is, appropriating it to yourself without referencing the person. And what most people do when they plagiarize in terms of copying is that they want to save time. They just copy. And what do? They paste on their own work without referring to the person who has the idea. Let us see if we can get an example of copying. We have here before us an example of copying. This is a text taken from a work from a Kanu AI 2020 on COVID-19 and the economy, published in a journal with the volume and the page. If you go and take this part of this work, taking it from the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic on Nigeria and down to the last word, which is convention, without in any way referring to the author of the work, it then means that you have copied. You have copied the work of this person without referencing to the person. And the moment you do it, you have copied and you have plagiarized. You can copy without plagiarizing. That is when you copy and then put the name of the person. At that point, what you have copied now becomes a cited material. But when you do not cite, then you have copied, and it is called copying because it is not cited. There is a second type of plagiarism. And the second type of plagiarism is patchwork plagiarism. And when we talk about patchwork plagiarism, we are talking about picking phrases and clauses from the works of others without referencing them. You can pick 3 phrases from here and pick 3 phrases from the work of Anthony, take 3 phrases from the work of Ahmed, and then you put it together to generate your own work without adding anything of your own. Even when you add in terms of conjunction word. When you do this, you have plagiarized. An example could be when you look at the source, the consequence of COVID-19 pandemic, when you pick this, and then you can add just a line in front, we may